Despite Jake Paul's lackluster victory over a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, the problem child has a slew of big-name opponents now calling him out. First in line was Tommy Fury, the undefeated British fighter and younger half-brother of heavyweight champion Tyson Fury. Because Tommy handed Paul his first professional loss in February of 2023 with a split decision victory, he believes they're destined to do it again. "I mean, at the end of the day, I think me and him, we're set in stone," said Fury of their future fight. "He's only got one defeat, and that's to me, so it's inevitable that we're going to get back in the ring." Their first encounter was a financial success, and Paul did lose, so don't be surprised if Paul goes back to the well for revenge and a payday. In his post-fight interviews after beating Tyson, though, Paul did explicitly reiterate his desire to become a world champion, and there were two in particular who took notice of this. The IBF heavyweight champ Daniel Dubois offered him a title fight, but there's no way Paul takes the bait. While Tyson was a heavyweight, Dubois is a 6'5", 27-year-old with 21 knockouts from 20 wins. Paul, who typically competes at cruiserweight, would get crushed. Paul would also have zero interest in taking on Artur Beterbiev. The undisputed light heavyweight champion challenged Paul for a belt too, but there's no way Paul risks his earning potential and his life facing off against the scariest man in boxing. No, Paul is after the big one, Canelo Alvarez. And his manager, Nikisa Bidarian, thinks it's going to happen sooner than we all expect. "In terms of Canelo Alvarez, 1000% that fight is going to happen," said Bidarian. "Whether it happens this year or next year, that is one that is undoubtedly in the roadmap for Jake Paul. And why not?" Canelo stepping into the ring to face a relative novice in the boxing game, no matter how popular he is, would be a joke. That's especially true when there's a string of legitimate challengers waiting for their shot at the king. But a fight with Paul would guarantee Canelo a higher paycheck than just about any other opponent he could find. So perhaps the problem child will get who he wants again. And in other boxing news, Shakur Stevenson has lost his opponent for this February, but the lightweight champ is already eyeing a potentially more lucrative replacement: the former unified lightweight champion, George Kambosos Jr. Stevenson was initially scheduled to fight William Zepeda until an injury forced Zepeda out of the bout. That left the rising star to turn his attention to Kambosos, who recently signed a co-promotional deal with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing. Kambosos would provide Stevenson with a significant financial boost, particularly through increased pay-per-view sales in Australia. And good news for Stevenson, ferocious Kambosos is keen, so long as it's a junior welterweight. 140, tweeted Kambosos of the weight demands. "You'll break your whittle brittle hands before I break your little girly ribs." The former bantamweight champion, Petr Yan, is back in title contention with a shutout unanimous decision win at UFC Fight Night 248 over the two-time flyweight champion, Deiveson Figueiredo. The current champ, Merab Dvalishvili, wants his rematch too, but is Yan next in line? While all three judges scored every round to the Russian, it was a highly entertaining battle, with Figueiredo coming on strong in the championship rounds. Yan's striking was as slick as it's ever been though, and his superior stats earned him the nod. Yan's championship career is seemingly cursed. When No Mercy claimed the title, it was vacant, and he did it with a win over the emaciated legend Jose Aldo, but that was back in 2021. In his first defense, he was dominating Aljamain Sterling until he threw an illegal knee in the fourth that cost him the fight and the belt. He won the interim title against Corey Sandhagen in his next bout to set up a rematch with Sterling, but this time he lost by a razor-thin split decision. That was in 2022, and he hasn't had another shot at gold since. That's because in his next fight, Yan lost an even more contentious split decision to Sean O'Malley, who went on to beat Sterling for the title Yan gave away. And then Yan got soundly out-wrestled by Merab Dvalishvili in 2023, who then went on to soundly out-wrestle O'Malley to become the new champion in 2024. This all seemed to leave Yan a long way down the bantamweight pecking order. But now, with 2 wins of his own this year, No Mercy wants his chance at title redemption. Merab, let's do it again, Yan said. I'm ready to talk about a rematch, and I believe it's going to be a very exciting fight. In their previous encounter, Dvalishvili shot a single-fight UFC record 49 takedown attempts and landed 11 to get the clear decision win. While he inflicted very little damage, it's easy to see why the Georgian is keen to run it back at UFC 313 this coming March 8. Let's go, Petr Yan. He added to a dramatic portrayal of how hard he believes it will be to take the belt from him. As for Figueiredo, Yan just ended his stunning bantamweight run. The God of War won 3 fights in 10 months since moving up from flyweight, all over top contenders, and Merab wanted him next. A shame for the Brazilian that things didn't go his way. "Goddamn, what a fight," Figueiredo said through an interpreter. "You know, guys, tonight was Petr Yan's night, but God doesn't give you a burden heavier than you can carry. Tonight was his night, and we'll come back stronger. I always do this." There was no fight of the night at UFC Fight Night 248, but Muslim Salihov, Gabriela Fernandez, Zhang Mingyang, and Shi Ming earned 50k performance bonuses. Of note were Salihov's spinning wheel kick and Shi's shin to chin. In other UFC news, Nick Diaz will not be fighting Vicente Luque at UFC 310 this December 7 after all. The reasons for his removal from the fights are unknown, much like why Diaz is doing whatever he is doing in this video that surfaced the day after the announcement.
Nick!
What? What are you doing?
Are you okay?
What's that for?
Are you alright?
Yes.
A month out from his first fight in more than 3 years, and just his third in the past decade, a shirtless Diaz attempted to light a piece of grass by the side of the road. Who knows why? And former UFC bantamweight champion Dominick Cruz may have found an old dance partner for the final bout of his pro MMA career. The former dual division champion Henry Cejudo, who knocked Cruz out when they first met in 2020. Dominic snooze. The only thing I remember about Dominick Cruz is when I put that frickin' knee on top of his frickin' dome, Cejudo said on his Pound for Pound podcast. I actually like that fight. If the UFC wants to make it, let's make it happen.
Thanks for watching, and remember, if you want more fight sports in your life, just hit the subscribe button.